Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm 13, I live in Minnesota, and I find it really awkward that I'm sitting here in my room by myself talking to a camera. There we go. So, one of the things on my bucket list, I guess, would be to become a YouTuber, which I'm working on now. And, this is my first YouTube video. Well, not my first technical YouTube video, but my first one that I'm talking like this, like my first vlog type of thing. And so, I'm going to just kind of share like my story or whatever, because my goal for my YouTube channel is to be inspiring to people and to help them and to encourage them and build them up, and doing that in a Christianly manner, I guess, whatever. And what I mean by that is just like keeping it like non-explicit, not using explicits or whatever, and just like not swearing and doing all the other stuff a lot of the YouTubers do, and then that way more people can watch my YouTube videos than people. Anyways, so we move about every 4 years. It's like my sixth house. I don't know. I'm not gonna count it now because that's not important. But anyways, I was raised in church. We went to different churches and stuff, and eventually we ended up in Bram. Wow, that was a really quick way to explain the first 6 years of my life. Anyways, so we ended up in Bram, and the first year and a half, maybe 2 years, I don't know. We lived there for like 4 years. But the first year and a half, 2 years, something like that, I was friends with everybody. Like, we were all like one big happy group of friends. Like, yay, us. But then I was quite bossy, and then all of my friends, except for one of them, but my like main group of friends, there was three of them. They were all siblings, and my sister. There was us five group of friends, but they decided that my bossiness was enough and they were sick of it. So they decided to make me stop being bossy. They would start being extremely rude in a form called bullying. And they would, I'm making it sound like they're terrible people, which they're really not, but they started bullying me or whatever, and we're little kids, so I don't even think they really realized that they were doing it. But it hurt because being called bossy and stupid and fat and bully of the block and just stupid little kid names that, you hear little kids calling to each other and you think, oh, that's cute. Like, that's no big deal. But really, it's not. Like, it hurt so much. There were so many days during school where they would bully me on the bus, and then I would come home running and crying, telling my mom, I want to move. I can't handle this anymore. I don't want to deal with it. Just little stuff like that. Like, just almost every day, at least one day a week, if not more, I would come home from school crying because I couldn't take it. And they were just so mean to me. So, well, not really so mean to me, but they were so mean to me from a 7-year-old's perspective. Like, it was bad. But anyway, so we moved to Cambridge, and at first I was like, yay, we're moving away from that stupid place. I hate everyone there, go away. But really, I really miss it, and I miss my grandparents. I'm gonna cry thinking about them. But some of them have actually moved to where I live now in Cambridge, and most of them didn't. And a lot of people from Cambridge have moved there. But yeah, so that's whatever. And then I've always kind of been bigger than kids, I guess. A lot of kids my age, or whatever. Like, I'm not fat anymore. I used to be, which I'll talk about that in a minute. But I'm not the I'm not the stick skinny girl or whatever, like the twig, like everybody's like, oh, you're so skinny. Like, I've never had that, ever. But anyway, staying on track. So in 5th grade, we moved to Cambridge, and I had friends, and I was kind of mean and, telling people. Anyways, that's not important. I'll talk about that later. But whatever. In 5th grade, I really started noticing how much bigger I was than the other kids, which back then I was like, I'm so fat. My parents would be like, no, you're not, when I was. Because I couldn't see my feet. Like, I wasn't like chubby everywhere. Like, it was just like my torso, my midsection, or whatever. That was like big, like huge. But that's just how I guess I genetically am, because that's still not exactly the smallest aspect of my body. But so my mom now will tell me that I was fat back then, but back then she was like, "No, you're so skinny," and just I always find that humorous. But yeah, so I finally started noticing how much bigger I was than everybody. Not everybody, most kids. And that kind of was like, okay, I'm fat. I'm bigger than them. And then sixth grade came, and I gained weight, but I got taller. So I got skinnier. And so I really started having depression issues in sixth grade. I had a lot of fighting with my parents. I had a lot of drama at school. I had a lot of self-esteem issues. I still do, but I had a lot of them, a lot of them too. Anyways, I had a lot of self-esteem issues, and I decided that I needed a distraction. And when you're in middle school and high school and stuff, and sometimes even elementary school, sometimes kids do this thing called cutting, where they take scissors, safety pins, tacks, their fingernails, razor blades, nails, anything sharp, and they mutilate their body, I guess. Self gratification. And so I started doing that. I used my fingernails. And then that was in December. And then I got a little bit better, and I stopped cutting after a while. But then in June, oh dear, I'm gonna cry. In June, I really had a climax of my depression, which when you have depression, climaxes usually are like this, but when you have depression, they go like this. Like, they just keep getting worse and worse. Like, yeah. Hopefully you understand. But, so it got worse. I was having a lot of drama, a lot of fighting with my family and stuff. And I have a little sister that's a few years younger than me, like 2.5, and we used to fight a lot. I mean, we still fight all the time, but it's not at all like it was. Like, so that didn't help. I was fighting with my parents on like everything because we had been in church for like 2 or 3, maybe months, like 3 months, just over 3 months or whatever. And then, excuse me. And then, so on June 6th, in 2012, I decided that I had one fight too many with my parents. I was done. I felt that, people like me, but nobody really needs me. I felt that I was worthless and that I was just sick of fighting with everybody. And I was sick of the drama. And I decided to be done with my life. It's so weird. I'm like crying. And so I decided that, I don't have anywhere in my room I could hang myself. I don't have any pillows. So I'll just kind of like strangle myself with my birthday present from a few years before that. It's like I tied, like it's a really cute scarf, but I like tied it around my neck and I'm sitting there and I'm crying and I'm choking and I'm just waiting to be done. And my mirror kind of saved my life because I looked in the mirror and despite my purple face, despite my crying, despite all the pain that I saw like in my face, I saw potential. I saw me not being done. I knew it wasn't my time yet. And I realized I don't want to be done. I want to have kids. I want to finish school. I want to go to college. I want to move to Australia. Like, that's been a goal of mine for a while. But I just, that's like, oh my gosh, it's like the most heartbreaking moment of my life. I decided that I wanted to live, wanted to breathe, wanted to do stuff, I wanted to have fun, I wanted to be a kid, I wanted to grow up. So I don't know. It's really hard to explain what happened because it was all so fast. But yet it felt like it took so long. Like I can't even believe. Anyways, so like I like had knotted around my neck and I'm like pulling this thing tight and then I like let go or whatever. Then I realized I'm still choking. So so I'm like sitting there like trying to get this knot out or whatever, and every second feels like an hour. So it felt like it took me like 8 hours to get a knot out, which took me like 10 seconds, but it was kind of not good. But that's really emotional. But anyways, I got better, moved on with my life, I guess. And then my mom decided to homeschool me. Well, to anybody who's wondering if they should be homeschooled, if you don't, or any parent, if your kid doesn't want to be homeschooled, it doesn't work. Take it from experience, it doesn't work. And it just landed me back in public school, which I hate all the drama, I hate the influence, I hate all the garbage that goes on. But the program for schooling itself I don't know, at least for me, it works really well. So I'd rather do that than be home all day. I need a change of scenery. But so that was like the first month and a half of my seventh grade year, and then I finished or whatever, and then we're like, my mom was like, "Okay, no," like it just kept like we fought like all day. Like I don't want to sit there and read books. I wanted to go outside. I mean, I'm home and that's what I do all day in the summer anyways, is I just go outside or do whatever. So I didn't want to sit there and like read books and do my schoolwork. Like I just don't have enough self-discipline. So my mom one day was like, "Fine, you're going back to school." And I was like, "Yes!" Like I'm all happy and stuff to like not be home all day because I knew that I wasn't getting an education if I was going to be homeschooled. Like it just doesn't work for me at least. Love the idea, just doesn't work for me. And then so I went back to school in seventh grade or whatever, and I really started trying to figure out like who I am, what do I stand for, what do I believe, like all like the stuff that everybody else is trying to figure out in middle school. And then I started getting depressed again, but it was it was more before it was my parents, like other people influencing me, and then my seventh grade year, all of my depression, which I dealt with it a lot, that was caused by boys or my low self esteem. When I was good for a lot of seventh grade ever, and then came the new year, 2013, and then I started having boy problems with lying. And if that person is watching, you probably know who you are. And I forgive you. It's all good now, but lying to girls gets you nowhere in life. It just I might talk about that later. If that person gives me their consent, I'll have to talk to them. But yeah, so I had boy problems. Okay, I gotta share the story because it's funny. So like I was really happy. This is before like I realized that they were like he was lying to me and stuff, and like I was so happy. You can ask anybody in my group of friends or whatever that was in my art class. I was so happy because I found out that he liked me too, which that ended up being a lie, I guess, but I found out that he liked me too. And the next day I went to school, and art was my first hour. I was so overly happy. Like, I was laughing and giggling and jumping and sitting on Potter's wheel. Like, yeah, I was like laughing, and then I like almost fell over, so I like bent down and I sat on the Potter's wheel. Not the seat part, but like that tray part or whatever. I like sat on that. Okay, when you're laughing that hard and you're laughing like somebody breathes and you just burst out laughing because you're like so happy. Like, I mean, especially with, like sitting on a potter's wheel because you're laughing makes everybody laugh. Well, when they start laughing, you start laughing. So that's just a kind of like a funny little story or whatever. I have lots of funny middle school stories and whatnot. But yeah, so anyways, I got over that. Had another problem with the boy that I had dated last October in 2011 or 12, not 11. And I'll have to share my story on boys, but things escalated and then quickly fell when I got grounded. My depression worsened. I started cutting again. And then I got over that, and then I got physically better. Like I was still like depressed, but like I was back to the point like there's kind of like two stages of depression where you're only like you only let it show when you're alone. It's like I know depression's not good either way, but I at least with me that's like my more mild, like moderate, like depression or whatever level. Like where I'm like all happy and stuff, but then as soon as I'm like alone by myself, I'm bawling and crying and just sad. And then there's also the I'm happy around nobody depression. But that's like a very severe form of depression that I did end up dealing with. I'll talk about depression in some other video, but that's the one that I dealt with last, I guess. But yeah, so I dealt with a lot of self-esteem issues. I really started paying attention to skinny people, how pretty they are, how skinny they are, how there's not fat covering their bodies, stuff like that. And then I started cutting again. That one got worse. I started cutting my thighs. I had 111 cuts total on both of my thighs. Like it was all just like it was gross. And then that was all in a three. No, that was in a 2 hour period that happened. Yeah. No, it was less than that. But anyways, so yeah, I dealt with that, and it got better, and then it got worsened, and I started cutting again, and then I was like, I go back and forth on this, but I stopped again. I just got rid of my blades. So I'll talk about that in another video. Like 3 days ago, I got rid of them, and I have them no more. So yay! But my life is very depressed, and there's a lot of things I didn't talk about, which I've battled with so many things: trust issues, anxiety, social anxiety, cutting, depression, like a ton of stuff that nobody should have to deal with. Like it's all mind games. It's ridiculous. But that's my first video. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comment section down below what you want me to do, or if there's anything that I've talked about that or didn't talk about that you want me to talk about, or anything you want me to talk about further, or whatever. And thank you guys. Bye.